Hi everybody, it's Kelly with Sewful Creations, and today's pattern is the Finesse by Really Creative by Rosemary. So this is a simple sling bag, sling slash messenger type bag. I like that it just has this one single strap. There's so many different new techniques to making this bag, starting with the strap and facing that goes along with making that. There's this cool hidden pocket here. It fits my cell phone. I have a really large cell phone and it fits it perfectly. I love being able to just reach in and grab my phone without having to unzip my bag. So that's a cool feature. It has this oval bottom. You can make it a little sturdier if you choose. I just use some fusible fleece and some Decaville heavy, but you can add purse feet if you want to. Optional, I added a couple of rivets here on the strap, just to give it a little more stability. As you can see, there's a recessed zipper, and so your contents are pretty secure. And when it opens up, I don't know if you can see inside, but there's a pretty roomy slip pocket, and she has a cool little technique for a slip pocket that doesn't require a vinyl overlay or anything. It has its own nice little trim to it, and then there's a zipper pocket with overlay on the other side. So you can make this bag as structured or as slouchy as you want. I chose fusible fleece because I wanted to keep it kind of nice and soft. I didn't want it too sturdy, and so I got the look that I was going for. So anyway, the pattern, the link is going to be in the description. Get a copy of the pattern. Meet me here in the sewing room if you want to sew this finesse bag with me, and we'll get started. So grab everything. Okay, so before we get started making our finesse bag by Really Creative by Rosemary, let's just go over the pieces that you need to cut out real quick. So you're going to cut out 2 of your main exterior pieces mirrored. So these strap pieces here, they should be on opposite sides. And I decided to interface with some fusible fleece, but you can use Decaville Light. I just didn't know if that would cause some wrinkling, so I just decided to use the fleece. And then this vinyl is pretty substantial, so I didn't think it needed anything too stiff or heavy. And the design of the bag makes me think like I don't want it super structured either, so I went with the fusible fleece. So 2 of those. You're going to need your base, your bottom piece, and I have also interfaced that underneath with some fusible fleece, and I put a piece of Decaville heavy on top. These are your hidden pocket pieces. Again, they're mirrored, so you need 2 of those from your exterior. These are your top facing pieces, and they're also cut mirrored, so you will need 2 of those. Okay, 2 of your zipper pocket, your zipper placket pieces, and 2 in the exterior fabric and 2 in your lining fabric. So I'm using this waterproof canvas and my exterior pieces here. So you'll have 4 in total there. Okay, your strap pieces cut from your exterior according to the measurements, so you'll need 2 of those. So I have 2 of those cut out. Your zipper overlay, and I did interface with some Decaville Light first before I cut it out, because I don't like a real floppy zipper overlay. And from your lining, 2 of your main lining pieces, again cut mirrored. and your base piece. And then I'm using this waterproof canvas for my zipper pocket and my slip pocket. They're exactly the same cut, exactly the same. But on the back of one of them, you're going to draw some lines according to the measurements in the pattern for your slip pocket. So that's where she begins the pattern with constructing your slip pocket. And she does it a little bit differently than I've ever seen. So we're going to go ahead and do that. But before I do that, on your main exterior pieces, you're going to mark out on these strap ends here. You're going to make some marks according to the measurements in the pattern. So you're going to do it on both of these, as well as your top facing pieces. As soon as I find those again. So here's one. So on your top facing pieces, you have a wider end here. As you can see, this end is a little wider than this. On the more narrow end, you're going to make that line there as well on both of those. And that'll come into play later. So right now, and also, I'm sorry, one more thing. Mark left and right on your main lining pieces and your hidden pocket pieces. Mark the left and right so you don't get those mixed up. Okay, so again, with our slip pocket, so we're going to make the lines according to the measurements in the pattern, and then we're going to get ready to fold these lines in. So I going to use my double-sided tape. Let me grab that. So I'm going to add some double-sided tape on the long edges here. Okay. And we're going to do this first. On this side. So this is just a different way for doing. And then she also suggests, if you're using this thicker waterproof canvas, that you score the fold before, just so you get a crisper edge. So you could just take something and just kind of score it like this, and then it'll fold over nicer, give you a crisper edge there. So you can just go along that line that you drew and just go. So you see, I'm just using the blunt end of this chopstick. Okay, you don't have to do that, but that's what I'm. Okay. And actually that wasn't even a line, because I'm folding. Am I folding over the line or to the line? So see, not even the right line, because I'm folding to the line, not on the line. So never mind, but you would do that at 1/4 inch instead of 1/2 inch. So, okay. So I'm just folding it, the raw edge to that line. So it'll look like this. And then we'll do same thing here. Okay. I didn't get a chance to make a practice bag before this video, but it seems like it's going to be pretty simple to do. Okay, so now you have 2 lines at the bottom and the top. So we're going to first fold the raw edge Hold on a second. Jazzy, pause it, please. Okay, I had to review because so I didn't need to draw the lines on this on one end. I just needed it to draw these the two lines on one end, because what we're going to do is we're going to fold this up to meet the second line from the top. So not this first line here, but the second line. We're going to fold this up to meet that line, making sure our sides are lined up. Okay, and give that a nice crease there. Okay, and if you want, you can place some double-sided tape on the edge, and I'm going to do that so that it doesn't shift or anything. So I'm just going to get that. Let's get that in place. Like I said, I've never done a slip pocket this way, so I had to just double check. I read it over and then couldn't remember. Okay, so I'm just lining it up and making sure my edges, and if it's a little bit off, it's probably because of how I cut it. No, that's fine. Okay, so just want to make sure everything lines up. So now we're going to place some double-sided tape right up at the top edge. Okay. Okay. And she has you fold, okay, and then fold it down. Okay. Fold the first, so fold it down. We're going to fold down to that 3, so the top line, we're going to fold that down to get rid of that raw edge. Just like that. And then we're going to fold it down again to the 1/2 inch line. Is that correct? Yeah. And then fold down again on the 1/2 inch line. She says on the 1/2 inch line. Okay, so we're going to fold on the 1/2 inch line, not to the 1/2 inch line. So we're folding it down. So now we have it like this, and we're going to fold on the 1/2 inch line like this. So you cover up that raw edge. Okay, and it gives you like that little lip like that for your, and again, I'm just going to put a piece of double-sided tape just to hold everything down. And then I'm going to fold that down. Okay. Give it a nice finger press like that. Okay. And you have a nice crisp pocket, just like that, slip pocket. Okay. So this is another way, and without having to put a overlay on your slip pocket. So now we're going to get ready to she says top stitch the pocket 1/8 inch above the fold line. So we're going to top stitch right above that fold line. So let's get ready to do that. So now we have that. Looks good like that. Okay, and now we're going to grab our left lining piece, and you should have had that marked as well, the left and right side. So, which I didn't, but okay, so this is the left lining piece. Okay, so we're going to take our slip pocket and we're going to place it onto our left lining piece. Okay, and first let me mark the centers here. Okay, and I'm just going to give this a little fold to mark this out. So I know where the center is there. And I'm going to grab my ruler so we get the right placement. Okay. Okay. And that looks good right there. Okay. And then we're just going to now sew all around the three edges, so the sides and the bottom, to secure our slip pocket in place. And we're sewing at 1/8 of an inch. Okay, I like to give it a nice little back stitch because those corners, you don't want those corners coming undone. All right, so now we have our slip pocket in place. It's looking good. Okay, I'm just going to just singe those thread ends a little. Okay, so if you want, you could even put a little rivet on the ends, which yeah, I might do. I think putting the rivets there, because if you're going in and out of your pocket, I think it just adds a little more security. So I may do that, but I'll do that off camera and I'll show you. So that looks good. I like the way that looks. Okay, so now we're going to get our other lining piece and our overlay. Okay. And we're going to put some double-sided tape on the back of our overlay. Make sure you keep it away from the window. You don't want it right up against the window because we're going to have to cut the fabric away. So leave some space. If you think the 1/4 inch is too wide, you can use 1/8 inch double-sided tape as well. Okay. So we'll place some double-sided tape, and then we're going to place it centered on the right side of our lining piece. So again, I'm going to mark the centers. We're measuring from the bottom. So give it a little snip there. Okay. And we will get this center here like such. Okay. And then also I'm going to get a little crease in my overlay for just a second, so I know where to lay that. I'll remove the double-sided tape from the backing from one side. Get that paper off, and we'll get ready to lay this down. Right like that. Okay. Make sure it's on there. And then once that side is on, then we can remove the paper from this side. And then just let it fall in place. And now we have our overlay in place. We're going to sew or top stitch around just the outside, okay, to get it in place. 1/8 of an inch, leaving long tails to pull to the back. Okay. Take your time going around the curves. Before I get all the way around, I'm going to lift this up. I'm going to pull this thread tail and then pull that loop and bring both ends to the back. Move those out of the way. Then I'll continue on. I like getting the lining out of the way. And drop that right where we started. Okay. And flip that over, pull this in, get that loop, and bring it to the back. If it wants to come to the back. Come on, little loop. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to tie these threads off. I like to do 2 at a time, but you can certainly do all 4 at one time if you choose. Give that a little singe here. Don't worry about it coming in loose. Okay, and that's what that's looking like. Now we're going to cut the fabric out of the center here. So I'll just give it a little snip. And then be careful, do not cut your overlay because you'll be sad. Okay. And then from the back, now I'm going to excuse all these little lines on the back of this. I had actually traced out another pattern some time ago and then decided I didn't want to use this. So the lines are there. Right, and just take your time, not cutting your overlay. Get your scissors underneath there. That's why it's important to keep the double-sided tape away from the zipper window, because you don't want to cut into that. Okay, so now that we have our zipper overlay in place, get your zipper pocket and your zipper tape and your pull, and we're going to, I made these marks 1/2 inch. Don't know if you can see them that well, but 1/2 inch. Okay, I did it on both sides. Okay, just in case. And we're going to take our zipper tape and we're going to place it on the bottom of our zipper pocket piece. So if you have a directional print, it's going to be at the bottom. Okay, and we're going to base this between those 1/2 inch marks at 1/8 of an inch. Okay. Okay. Then we're going to take some double-sided tape and we're going to place a piece right between those marks again, right at that bottom over those stitches. Okay. Again, you can do your pocket the way you normally do if you choose. We're putting a piece also at the top. I just want to follow her instructions in case you're following along. Okay. And then a piece on the back here too, between those marks. The back of the zipper tape at the top. Okay, so right, like such. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and add my zipper pull right now. You can add it later, but I find it easier to add it now. Okay. Just like such. In whatever direction you prefer to have your zipper pocket. I like mine to close to the left and open to the right. So now we're going to place our lining piece right over. So your zipper pocket should be facing up out toward the top. And we're going to get this centered on. Get our zipper centered. Make sure it's about the same distance on the sides. And we're going to get that on in place like that. Okay. And once you see that it's like where you like it, we're going to remove the tape, the paper from the tape, and get that secured in place. Okay, just like that. I'm going to also do this side here. Okay, and that looks good. And once you're satisfied with that, now we're going to sew the bottom. So we're just going to start leaving long tails. Okay, and I'm just starting at, before it starts to curve, I'm going to start there and I'm going to go all the way across there. and leave long tails. And we're sewing. Stop there. Okay, so we just sewed straight. We didn't go around just yet. Okay, and then I'm going to pull those tails to the back. And tie them off. Okay. Now I'm going to add another piece of double-sided tape right here at the edge here. I just choose to do this especially for this waterproof canvas because when I get to fold this back, I like it to stick down in place. So just right across there, and then we're going to pull this snug and really press that down. Just like that. And now this piece of tape we have here, let's remove that backing there. And we're going to fold the bottom of the pocket up to meet the top of the zipper tape right onto that double-sided tape, just like that. And then we're going to turn this over. And now we're going to finish sewing around the rest of our zipper window, starting and stopping where we left off. Okay. Leaving long tails once again. So let's get that under there. And we're going to place our needle down where we started. And we're going to be going around that curve. So take your time. Just kind of doing one stitch at a time. Okay. Now I can go around, move my zipper pull out of the way. Okay, and about one more stitch there. Oops, line it up. Alrighty, and we'll tie these off. Alright, and now we can pull the sides back, and this is why we left no tape there, right? So we can pull those back and move my other zipper pull out of the way, and we're going to sew that down. So let's just bring the pattern back up. Okay. Let's sew these sides closed. Okay, and now we have our pretty zipper already. Okay, so we can set that. So our lining pieces, these are done. We can move those to the side. We're going to grab our main zipper and our zipper placket pieces. Again, you have 2 exterior and 2 lining. Okay. And we're going to prep our zipper tape. She says you can mark 5/8 of an inch from the end, and so you know where to fold. I'm just going to open up my zipper here, and I'm going to make a fold like that. And then I'm just going to bring that fold right up underneath my zipper teeth. Okay, and I like to do it where it just all lines up to just like that. So the edges are lined up like that, and you can take a pin or a clip. You can burn it with a lighter if you choose, but I'm just going to clip it, and then I'm going to tack that down. So I'm going to take my, let me just make sure I check okay. So I'm going to take 1 lining piece and 1 exterior piece and place them right sides together. And I'm going to sew across 1 short edge at 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay. And now we're going to open this up. And we're going to take our zipper and we're going to place it onto the lining right side up. And we're going to mark 3/8 of an inch from this seam line. And that's where we're going to place the end of our zipper. So I'm just make a little mark there. So right side up, the raw edges together here. So the zipper tape should line right up with that 3/8 inch mark. Okay, you can use some double-sided tape to hold it all in place. I'm going to grab my 1/8 inch tape, and I'm just going to run a strip just to hold it all in place here. Okay. Oh, I forgot this end. I'm so sorry. I forgot this end. This end gets folded up. I totally forgot. Okay, this end gets folded. The raw edges on this end get folded up a 1/4 inch. So, totally forgot. So, before I finish that, let's mark up a 1/2 inch. now we're going to I'll place some double-sided tape on these ends so we don't have any raw edges exposed. And that. And we'll fold this to meet the line. So we'll have our 1/4 inch fold there. And the same on this one. All right, now we can finish this here. Place our double-sided tape here on this edge. Okay. Now we're going to put our zipper right side up, right at that mark, lining up the raw edges, making sure it's nice and straight. Just like such. Okay. And if you want, you can go ahead and remove this other piece here. And then we're going to fold this back down. We can add another piece of double-sided tape if we so choose, and I so choose. Okay. And then she sews it, add what? You could base this on, I'm just going to sew it all at once. And she sews at 3/8. Okay. Okay, so I decided to just do the tape instead and just sew it all at once. Fold this up, meet these edges here, make sure the folds match up, and we're going to do it just like this. And we're going to sew across here at 3/8 of an inch. I just hold with my stiletto so nothing goes slip sliding. And don't go past the fold. Don't take your stitches past the fold. Just right up to the end of the fold and then back stitch. Okay. Okay. So now you can trim this down. Let's see. We're going to trim this down a little here so we don't have that bulk there. Okay. And we're going to fold this out. I'm going to trim this little corner down too. Okay. The less bulk, the better. And then we're going to turn this out. Pushing that corner out. And bringing wrong sides together. I'm going to just take my chopstick here and just push that out. Make sure it looks nice and neat. Okay. There we go. And then we're going to line everything up. Pull, give your zipper a little tug. Make sure everything is looking good. And we'll clip this together. And then we're going to top stitch. Okay. All right, so I'm going to top stitch starting with the raw edge. I'm going to base the raw edge closed. Then I don't have to worry about it. Okay. And sew across the bottom here where the fold is. If it's a little too bulky there, you can hammer it down a little, or you can use some pliers and give it a little squeeze. If you feel like that part is a little too bulky, just kind of give it a little squeeze with some pliers to compress that down, and then sew across. Okay. Make sure you're pulling your zipper tape away. So okay, so 1/2 of our zipper placket is done. And it looks good. So that's what it's looking like. That's what the back is looking like. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna do the other half, and then we'll come back and continue with our finesse bag. Okay, so for this section, you're going to need your complete zipper placket. I've got mine already. We just did that. Your 2 hidden zipper pocket pieces, slip pocket pieces. Your right top facing. So make sure you have those marked right and left. So it's the right top facing. And your right lining piece. Okay, this is the one with the zipper pocket. Okay, so we're going to take our right pocket piece. Okay, and before we do that, you're going to make some snips along the top here on both the right and the left. So just some 1/8 inch snips. Okay, and I've already done that. And then on your right top facing, from this end, not this end with the mark here, this end, we're going to make a mark 2 3/4 in from this short edge. Okay, and we're going to get ready to put our right piece. We're going to start at that 2 3/4 inch mark, and we're going to get this clipped into place. And that's why we put those snips in there, so that it goes and curves around. So we're just clipping it just like such. And those snips help it to go along this curve here. Okay. So once you have that clipped in place, we're going to sew at 1/4 inch. Okay. So that's why your snips don't need to be more than 1/8 of an inch in, or else you won't cover them with the stitches. Okay, so okay, so now once you have that sewn in place, okay, get that. Okay, we can set that aside. You're going to take your zipper placket. I'm just going to mark the centers on both sides. Snip that. And that. Okay. And we're going to place our zipper placket right side up, okay, on this. And we're going to mark 2 1/4 inch from this edge. That's where we're going to place it. So 2 1/4 inch. Let's get a little mark there. Okay. So the edge of your zipper placket should line up with that mark there. Okay. And I think we need to, it says place the right side onto the top right side of the lining. Okay, we're probably going to need to add some snips here too, just to make sure it goes along that curve there. So I'm just snipping about 1/8 of an inch again. Okay. And that way it curves with the shape of the lining. More there. Okay. Just like such there. Okay. And we are going to base that in place 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so we have that basted on. Okay. Alrighty. So now, if you're following along, we are on we're moving to page 16 in our pattern. So now we're going to take the left pocket piece. So that's this piece, and it has those snips in there as well. And we're going to place that right sides together, right on top of the zipper placket. And we're going to do that 1/2 inch from the edge of the zipper placket. So I'm going to make that mark. Lay that down 1/2 inch from the edge there, and we'll get this clipped in place. Okay, once we have that clipped in place, we're going to stitch at 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so now we have that attached. Okay, and now we're going to fold this away. So fold your pocket piece away. And then we're going to lay our the right side of our facing. So let's grab this. And we're going to place this, clip the sides and bottom of the pocket together. Okay, so we're going to do like this. No, sorry, like this. So we're clipping our pocket pieces together like this. Okay, and we're going to leave 1 inch open up here at the top, making sure that everything is lining up. Okay, so I'm going to start here at the bottom. This is some very interesting construction here. So I apologize for having to look at the instructions as I go, but I don't want to miss any steps. My brain just won't allow me to recall anything for too long. Okay, so leave about 1 inch at the top. And the same thing here, making sure it's lining up, meeting up there. Okay, about there. Okay, so now it should be, it's looking very interesting, isn't it? So now we're going to we're going to cut here. Make some marks 1/4 inch from the stitching where the wrong side meets the pocket. So 1/4 inch in from the stitching. So right there, and we're going to mark right here. So you see those marks there and there. Okay. Okay, so I had to go back and take a look just to make sure I was doing this right. So make sure that your pocket pieces are matching up here. We're going to bring this facing up to match it with the raw edge of the top of the lining, and we're just going to clip that. Okay, so let's start with this side, and I did add some snips to my lining to help it to curve around the facing. Okay. So once you get that clipped, now we're going to sew. So we're going to start here, just past the lining. We're going to start there at a 1/4 inch, I believe. Yeah, so a 1/4 inch, and we're going to sew, and we're going to sew until we get to this mark that we made here. Okay, so let's do that. And just make sure we have this lined up. And you'll start here, okay? Start about right here. Okay. Let me get that little point to stay under there. So it's a little tricky, but guess we'll see how it goes. Just take your time. Make sure this is got those clips under there kind of in the way, but it's gonna be okay. Yeah, let me make sure. It's lining up there. There we go. This part is a little bit tricky here. Just make sure that that top facing stays lined up with your lining. And when we get to that 1/4 inch mark, then we'll backstitch. Okay? I think I did it. I think I did it. I think I did it. Okay. Okay, let's see how that's looking. Let's see. I think that could have come up just a tad bit more. I think I was a little bit off. I think it's easier to sew this part from the back to make sure it's all lined up right, because those clips are kind of in the way. But my stitches are not lining up from the back. Just want to make sure that that's lining up there. Let me just do this part again here from the back, because I think that's supposed to meet up. I think. We're going to find out. Logically, that's what it appears to see to me, that needs to line up. Okay, now let's see what that's looking like. Yes, that's much better. So see, if you see on the back, once you sew across there, it should meet up with the stitch here. Mine was a little off when I stitched it from the front. So I just went back and stitched and made sure it lined up there. Okay, and that way when you turn this out, your pocket, your hidden pocket, it covers up this part here. So that's what it's supposed to look like. Now on this side, we're going to clip this in here. So get that clipped in place. Here. And again, we're clipping. Okay. Like such. And we're going to start at that 1/4 inch mark and all the way to the end. So if these clips are in your way, let's move them out the way. Get up under here. Make sure. Okay, get up under there. And I'm going to start, get my needle in place. And back stitch. And then sew across here. Okay. And then that should have our facing in place. And let's just make sure we got it together. Just double check. All right. And then we're going, so now it's looking like that. You see our pocket. It's going to be facing down like that. It's the back, as this is like that. That's going to be our hidden pocket there. Okay, so now we're going to sew our sides down, the pocket sides down, and we'll sew as far as we can go to the top. And we're closing that up at, does she tell you to do that right now? Yeah, okay. So I'm going to just sew these pockets down. Okay, get in as close as I can. All the way up here to the top. And get as close as you can without going over here. Okay. And like I said, we'll see how that's looking pretty good there. And we'll just make sure that this is okay. Just give that a nice little roll. Make sure it looks good. Okay. Like such. Okay, so that's interesting. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and it says fold the seam up toward the facing. Okay, which is what we did. The seam is going up toward the facing. And we stitched our pocket closed. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to get our left top facing on to our other lining piece. Okay, so now we're ready to put our lining pieces together. So I went ahead, I sewed the other half of my zipper placket on to the left part of the lining and installed my facing, my top facing. So now we're going to put these right sides together. And we are going to clip each side. Okay, let's make sure everything is, hopefully everything lines up. I don't seem to be lining up properly. Just trying to make sure everything lines up. I think I stretched this side a little bit, but we'll see. Okay. Let's start here at the bottom. Make sure. Get it all clipped. Yeah, that's way, I think I'd really stretch one side out, maybe this, or, yeah, because that matches up on the inside, so I must have stretched this side out a little bit. As long as it matches up, I can just trim the extra off, so I'm not going to worry about that. As long as because this is some stretchy vinyl, so as long as it, like I said, as long as it's matching, I'm going to trim the extra off. Okay, let's get this side. Let's get our zipper tails out of the way so we don't accidentally sew over those. And let's get these matched up. So we're going to sew down at 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to start with the shorter side here. And then on this side, we're going to sew up and we're going to stop at that, that mark that we made. Okay, so don't sew past that mark. Let me just make sure this is not, let's see if I pull this up a little bit. How'd that look? Nope. Okay, let's just leave that like that. Okay. So didn't sew past that mark. Okay. And as you can see, the inside here of the lining, that's matching up really well. That's what I want. Okay. And this side, it's good enough. But anyway, so now we're going to get ready to sew our lining bottom on. Okay, so let's see here. Just double checking. Lining bottom. Gonna clip on. Okay. And we're sewing at 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch. Okay. So I'm just going to make some snips. Because I have my centers marked here, and then we have our side seams. I'm just going to make some snips, like 1/8 of an inch in. do that on both sides. Okay, and then before I do that, I'll just mark out my centers. On this, and we'll match up these points here, and then also snip here. So we'll have all 4 points notched out. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and snips, 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 snips. Okay. Okay, so once we get those snips in there, we're going to match up the centers, get that clipped in place. And the sides, open up those side seams and match up to the center. Okay, there we go. And then we'll start getting this clipped in place. If you want, you can staple. Let's see how this fits. And get lots of clips. This canvas doesn't stretch at all, so it may be a little bit of pucker here and there, but I'll try to work it out the best I can. Alright, so I'll come back after I get this all clipped together, and we'll get this sewn, get the bottom sewn on, and we'll see how our lining is coming along. Okay, so I got the base clipped on the best I can. This waterproof canvas is not very pliable, but we'll get it on. So we're going to sew at a 1/4 inch, I believe, yeah, 1/4 inch. And let's just get it going, and I will make it as neat as possible. So I'm just going. And like I said, staples may help, but I'm just, if there's anything poking out, I'm just going to trim it off. But I'm just gonna let the bag do what it does. I find it's better not to fight it to fit perfectly and just let it kind of fall where it's going to fall in a sense, and then trim a little extra off. Because okay, so not perfect, but it's on there. And anything that needs to be trimmed, I will trim it. But from the inside, it looks good. You don't really see a lot of puckers or whatever, so not bad. Okay, so the lining is done. Okay, so now we're going to go into the exterior. So let me look this over. I'm going to trim this part down some, and then we will return to get the exterior done. Okay, so I want to go back and correct something. So on this, I said to start sewing at the 1.5 inch mark, and we were going to leave this part open. Well, you know, we're going to go ahead and sew that up. So as I'm making this video, this bag is still kind of under testing, and so I went back and clarified with the designer, and she has changed this. So we are going to stitch that all the way up. So I apologize if you have to go back and change that if you're following along with me, but it's not that big a deal. We'll just go ahead and stitch that up because we're going to add the straps. And another thing that I've done is on the facing, I have drawn a 1/2 inch line, a 1/2 inch from the top all around, because we're going to do a drop in. So I just want to be able to fold that to that line because we're folding in at a 1/4 inch. So if you haven't started yet, if you're just watching and you haven't started yet, you might want to do that before you put everything together. It makes it a little bit easier. And I've done the same thing on my exterior pieces here. I've done the same markings. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and sew the exteriors together. So right sides together. And I think, let me just verify that we're sewing what our seam allowance is. Okay, 1/4 inch seam allowance. So just sewing up the sides here. Okay, and again on this one, forget those marks we made. We're just going to start right up at the top and sew all the way down. You know, that's the beauty of testing that you get all these kinks worked out. Okay, so I'm going to start over here. I'm going to sew at a 1/4 inch. Okay, so we have that done. That side is done. And now we'll do the other side. So once we have that done, now we're going to put our base on just like we did for our lining. So I am going to snip into the bottom here just like I did before. So we're sewing our base on at, okay, so 1/4 inch, because I believe the seam allowance, she says 1/4. Yeah, so I think it says a 1/4 inch unless specified. So I'm just putting some snips here to make sure that we can go around those curves. So just snip, snip, snip. Don't go too far in, less than a 1/4 inch. Okay, once you get that snipped, then we will, I forgot to mark my centers here. So we're gonna do that. Make sure you do that before you get to this point, but that's okay. Just gonna notch this here. And some over here. Okay. And we'll grab our base, our exterior base piece, and we will, I'm gonna notch out the centers here. And the same here. And for this, if you want to put purse feet on your base, you can certainly do that. She doesn't call for it in the pattern, but you know, a nice flat bottom like this might look nice with some purse feet if you choose. Okay, so now we have that marked out. Now we're going to get it clipped together, starting with our midpoints here. And get it clipped around. You may want to pull that stapler out if you need it. Open up your seams on the sides. I'm just gonna start clipping. It's gonna be a snug fit. Okay. That's what those snips are for. It helps you stretch it over those curves. All right. Now we just ease the rest in here. And the last little bit here. All right. Looks like a nice, good fit there. Okay, so I think we got enough clips in there. So what I like to do is I like to stand it up like this so it stays nice and flat. And we're going to get ready to stitch this. I have my stiletto here and we're going to get ready to start making sure everything stays in place here. Go around. Okay. Now here we go. Take your time and let's just go around. Do a little at a time. Okay, we're almost around. Okay, getting around to the end. That was pretty painless. Okay, so we made it all the way around. Without any puckering. That looks good. Looks good from the inside. Okay. Well, I'm going to go back. I'm going to trim this down a little bit. Excuse me. And then we'll be back to get the strap on and put it all together. Okay, so now I'm back. I have added some double-sided tape just above the line I drew for the drop-in on the exterior. I did it on the lining, and then for the straps, I found the center of each strap and I put a piece of double-sided tape down the center. But on one end, I left some that doesn't have tape. I did that on both pieces because we're going to attach it. And then also on here, I didn't put the double-sided tape all the way to the top because we're going to sew each strap on, one onto the exterior, and one onto the line. Okay, so as I was saying, we're going to sew one strap to the exterior. So that's why we had to go back and sew up the side all the way here. So I'm just going to clip one end on the exterior, and then this other strap piece will get, the exterior, and then one on the interior or the lining. So we're going to open that up, and this one would get attached there. So before, I won't do the lining. Let's start with the exterior since I already have it clipped. And we're going to sew this, like I said, at 1/4 inch. And you can glue the seam allowance down, like she says in the pattern, or else I'm just going to put some double-sided tape to hold that open. So I'll place a little on each side. And we're just going to press the seam allowance open. Like that. Okay. We're going to remove the tape from the strap, the backing from the tape. So I'm removing the paper from the double-sided tape, and we're just going to start folding that strap in to that center line. Okay, so I'm doing one side. Just move this. And I'm just gonna do this one side. All right, and as we get up to the bag, there's my noisy neighbors there. Okay, I am going to start So I'm going to start folding over. So gradually folding over this top. So the first part is going to like be, you're just going to have to gradually fold until you start getting to that 1/4 inch. So you're going to fold just a little bit more right here, about 3/8, and then gradually decrease into your 1/4 inch mark. Okay. It always has to be yard day when I'm recording.
It's always yard day.
It's always yard day, trash day, some kind of day. Okay, so just keep working that around. And then as you get to this other side, I'm going to bring this other end of the strap over to meet the center. And then again, we're going to gradually bring this in. And then till we get to that 3/4. So where the seam is, that should meet in the middle. And then you're going to just gradually fold it in until you get to folding to the 1/4 inch mark. Okay, and then this here, probably be good to like add a little double-sided tape to keep that seam allowance down too. So I'm gonna just add a piece there to hold that down. And over here as well. Okay, and then I'll just put a couple of little clips here just to hold this for now. Just one clip will do there. As I continue to bring the rest of the strap and fold that in to that center line. Okay. Okay, so let me, oops, got my threads stuck to it. Okay. So let's continue with this. And we're going to do the same exact thing for the lining. And so we'll have one strap attached to the exterior and one attached to the lining, and then we're going to put them together. So let me finish, I'll finish this, show you what it's looking like, and then I'll do the lining off camera, and then when I come back, we'll get ready to drop in our lining and put it together, and we will be done with our finesse. Okay, so that's what it's looking like. Okay, so that's what it's looking like so far. We have this long strap hanging, and that's what it's going to look like on the interior as well. So I'll be back after I get the interior, the lining strap put on, and like I said, we'll be putting it all together. All right, so I have my exterior turned right side out. I did add a label to the exterior, and so now we're going to go ahead and drop the lining in. So just place that right on inside. Okay. Should fit nicely. Okay. Okay. And now I'm going to start, let me put the pocket inside. Okay. I'm going to start over here on this side seam and put a clip there to make sure we're starting at a good spot there. Okay, and then I'm just going to start working from there. So I'm just going to start clipping. Just oops. Make sure that's staying down. And we'll just get this all clipped together. And hope these straps match up. Okay. You might have to adjust it up here a little to make them match. Okay, so if you need to do that, that's okay. Okay. Now my seams don't match up. Where I sewed the straps together, they don't match up. And I don't know if they were supposed to. I don't mind that they don't, because then I don't have all that double bulk there. So maybe that's the way it's intended to be. Or maybe I just lucked up. But I don't mind that at all. So just keep clipping down your strap. So the seams are right sides. The seams are facing each other. So we have wrong sides together, of course. Okay, and I'm just going to start at this end just to make sure I'm all matched up. I probably could have interfaced my strap because my vinyl's a little stretchy. But I didn't. It's too late to think about it now. So think about that if you have stretchy vinyl. You might want to interface your strap. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and clip this side. Like it's going to match up pretty good. Alright, that doesn't look too bad. Not too bad there. Could adjust it just a little bit. My exterior looks just a little bit wider in here, so I'm just going to adjust that just a little bit there. Probably just didn't fold it in enough there. Okay. So there. Now I have it all clipped together. Now on this side, we're going to mark a 1/2 inch from the seam on each side. So just a 1/2 inch. Okay. I don't know where my small ruler is. I got this big ruler. I don't know what to do. Let's put my smaller one. But a 1/2 inch on each side. Okay. Put that clip back in. So I have marked a 1/2 inch on each side. We're not going to sew that just yet because we're going to put our strap down in there. So first we're just going to top stitch. Now if you want, you can. Like you can do it all at once. If you don't want to do it, wait and do it. You can do it all at once, but I think it's better. Well, no, because we do have to top stitch the strap. So no, that won't work. We do have to follow what she says. Okay, okay. Okay, so we're going to, let's see how she says to do it. We're going to start. Come on, get it together, girl. This is a long strap. Okay, so I'm going to start on one side and come around and stop at that mark. And then I'll do the same thing with the other side and stop at that mark. That's how I'm going to do it. Okay, so first, let me make sure. I want to change out my bobbin. Have a full bobbin there. So, and then we will get this thing rolling. You know, sometimes you just gotta do what you're supposed to do. And there's just no way around it, you know? Right, Jazzy? Isn't that what I tell you? When you try to do stuff all the time.
Hey.
And I tell you, you gotta do what I tell you to do. Okay.
Don't I always? She's not talking about me, guys.
So we're gonna top stitch 1/8 of an inch. Okay. Change my stitch length to a 5. And a back stitch here. This is not gonna be seen anyway. Okay, let's get this party started. Damn, my clip's back so here. You can even use some double-sided tape to put these together so that they stay together. You don't have to worry about it moving, but I didn't do that, of course. I just realized I started sewing from the inside of the strap. Hopefully my bobbin looks good. I really wanted to sew from the outside of the strap. So make sure you do that. I was wondering why my clips were all backwards. Didn't put 2 and 2 together. But it's okay, because it actually makes it easier for me to top stitch around the bag. So maybe I meant to do that. Maybe I'm smarter than I think. Yes. Yeah, okay, Jazzy. Okay. Okay. This is where we have a little bit of bulkiness here. Okay. Yeah, I think it was a blessing in disguise that I did it this way, because I do want to top stitch from the inside. Okay, the only thing is my 1/2 inch marks are on the other side, so I need to transfer it over here. Okay, so almost to that 1/2 inch mark. So I'm gonna get ready to stop there. And when I do, I'm gonna leave some long tails to tie in later. So let's get that going. Okay, so got that side done. The top stitching looks acceptable. Okay, so now I'm going to do the other side, and this time I'm going to start on this end, and I'm going to start from the inside here. We mark that. Put a clip here. I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to leave long tails. And give it a go. Okay, so now I'm just basically on the strap portion. So telling. Okay, so we got that done. And now for the final, almost the final. So we're going to make sure you don't twist your strap. So keep your strap. And then bring it over. And we're going to tuck it right in there and center it in that hole. I don't know. I put it, does she specify how far down she wants it to go? I mean, it's your preference, but just see if she says that. She's saying you should try the bag on for size and see where you want it. I'm just going to do, because I want to make sure that there's enough, room where it doesn't cause any problems later. I'm probably going to do about 1.5 inches and stick that down about 1.5 inches. Okay. Get that clip there. Okay. And then now we're going to top stitch. And I'm going to do it from this side because I just want to make sure it looks good over that bulk there. So, don't want any issue. So I'm going to start there where I left off from before. Okay. Make sure nothing's in the way. Get my strap down. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and go over. Okay. Now, yes. That could have looked a little better. Okay. Alrighty. So, it's all right. I wouldn't say that's the best looking stitches there. But what I'm going to also do is, because I think it doesn't say it in the pattern, but I would feel a little more comfortable if I had a rivet, one on each side. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to tie off these threads, and I'm going to put my zipper pull on and put my zipper end on there, and then I'm going to put those rivets on, because like I said, I just feel like just a stitch there is not enough for me. I want to rivet that down. Okay, because this is the only strap holding this bag so I want to make sure that it can carry some weight. So be back after that's done. Okay, everybody, so I went ahead and I did add those rivets on the side. I put on my strap in, have my zipper pull on, and my finesse is done. Okay, so I mean, it's a cute bag. It's just, it's a nice sling. Let me see how it looks on. So, so you can see. Let's see. See, so that's a nice, you can zip it up and, reach everything nicely. You have that nice little hidden pocket. The little hidden pocket here. Let me see how my phone fits in there. My phone drops right in there. Okay, so Jazzy, you know how I like to have my phone easily accessible on a bag. So, whoop! Let me do that again. Whoop! Anyway, so I do like that feature. The slip pocket is nice and roomy. The lining fits well. Love the zipper pocket. And so the only thing, maybe if I did it again, I would make my base a little sturdier. I feel like I don't know. I would put purse feet too. So anyway, other than that, thank you for joining me today as I make the Finesse Bag by Really Creative by Rosemary. So the link for the pattern will be in the description, as well as some of the materials I used today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and enjoy the rest of your sewing day.